Oh, so welcome in to the Crossing Swords Two Goalies One Mic 2021 NHL season preview, brought to you by Outlet Liquor, your place to buy a case, and the 2021 Sports Collectors Expo held by Batavia Downs Gaming and Raceway. It's the Sports Collectors Expo October 29th and 30th, only at Batavia Downs Gaming. Autographed guests include current Bills football players Jordan Poyer, Groot, Gregory Rousseau, Micah Hyde, Devin Singletary, and Boogie Basham. Plus, there's going to be Buffalo legends Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, and amongst others, as well as other athletes, including Andre Rison, Paul Molitor, and more. Full list of guests and details available at legendsandstars.net. Batavia Downs Gaming is located just off Thruway, exit 48. Make sure you guys get out there. Dwayne, I know you got something a little special here to tee us up and get us in the mood.
Let's go, baby.
For 17 years, Bob Christensen's masterpiece has sat in silence. An entire generation of hockey fans unaware of its majesty.
Oh man, what is this? Is this the NFL song?
The Olympics? No. What is that?
But music transcends. It has the power to transport a feeling from once upon a time to today.
Over 6,000 days since the last NHL game on ESPN, and it's just great it's coming back.
Marriage in music is forever. When a moment has found a match, it's impossible to hear anything else. Tonight, the NHL is back on ESPN. Harmony at last.
Where you been, my old friend?
Yeah. Good to see you. Thank you.
It's all yours.
There's few things that just scream hockey like that sound right there. One of the things that Dwayne, I know you brought up when we were talking about it this morning, is just it was the soundtrack to our childhood growing up, falling in love with the game of hockey, and to see hockey back on ESPN. What an awesome time, Dwayne.
Yeah, it's you hear that theme song like every once in a while over the last decade or so, ever since 17 years ago when hockey last was broadcasted on ESPN, sorry. And it kind of takes you back a little bit, but you don't really feel the full effect of it because you never hear it in its entirety the way we just did. And literally the first time I heard that when I was watching the Tampa Bay Penguins game last night, it just sent chills, absolute chills through my entire body because I was just remembering everything that was so great about hockey back when I was a kid, back in the days of the goat head, remembering old Janneret calls, playoff runs, just remembering guys like Jaromir Jagr, even Gretzky, Messier, Peter Forsberg, Sakic, Yzerman, the great rivalry years that lived and breathed on ESPN between Colorado and Detroit. Chris Osgood, Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek, Marty Brodeur, all those great goaltenders that really made me fall in love with the position, made me want to play the game of hockey. And just seeing how good of a job ESPN did last night just makes me look forward to hockey, not Sabres hockey, but hockey so much this year.
Absolutely. We're going to be watching a ton of other hockey, so thank God for ESPN Plus. Going to be carrying a shit ton of games for us this year. But it's not just the Duane and Ty B show here. We got Cullen and producer Steve joining us here. I'll send it to you, Cullen, first. as a bit of a younger Sabres fan, you haven't heard that music ever really associated with a Sabres game. You have, we all have our expectations going into the season, but how you feeling here? We've had, 2 games last night, got a bunch of games on the slate tonight. How you feeling with hockey back?
Oh, it's hockey's one of my favorite sports just because of how fast paced it is, and it's gonna be weird seeing it on ESPN. Like you always think of it on like this a Sabres game on MSG or whatever. At least for me, because that's like 17 years ago. I was 4 years old. Like what? I don't remember that. But like now I've had ESPN Plus, so I can like watch all the games now. I still have it. Like it's a good time to be the sports fan. We got the NBA starting right up too. Football is right in the middle of the season. Baseball is World Series. Hockey's starting right back up. And that means there's a glimmer of hope, if you want to say that, for the Sabres, because everyone starts off 0-0-0. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And shout out to everyone tuning in. If you're watching over on the Twitter sphere, make sure you hit retweet and like. Easiest way to help us, and it helps share what we're doing. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, hit that little notification bell so you know every time we go live. We're going to be going live a ton from Crossing Swords throughout the season with our thoughts on some of these terrible games, during intermissions and some pre-games and post-game stuff for you. And Duane is going to be killing it with Two Goalies, One Mic, and a guy who is a fixture now on Two Goalies, One Mic, producer Steve. You're a bit of an optimist here with the Sabres. How you feeling?
I'm feeling all right. At this point, I kind of treat the team like it's like a startup company. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of hurdles. There's going to be a lot of obstacles. Sometimes it ain't going to always be pretty. But
yeah, I think that's kind of like the perfect way to look at things right now, because we had the rebuild and the tank, and now it seems like we're at that point again where we just had the number 1 pick, and blah 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 and everything else going on, and it just feels like we're spinning our tires yet again, Duane.
Yeah, I put a tweet out yesterday from the Two Goalies on my account asking everybody to give their GIF reactions to the lineup that the opening day lineup, and it was comical as expected. Just people just losing their minds, ready to jump off their roofs, and I don't blame them, man. Like I still don't understand how Arttu Ruotsalainen is on the outside looking in on this team. I know Donnie Meatballs tried to put everybody's minds at ease, saying, that's not like a permanent set thing. Like he could just easily be in the lineup game number 2, even though he's not in game number 1. It doesn't matter. You like the whole narrative is this youth movement, right? This youth movement where we want to start letting these young kids play and earn their keep. Well, how are you doing that when you're rewarding guys like Cody Eakin, Kyle Okposo, keeping them on the roster? I get it that you're paying these guys money, but Ruotsalainen earned his spot on this roster, a full-time spot on this roster. And if you're going to tell me that you're going to try and put a competitive team on the ice, but he's in the press box while guys like Eakin and Okposo are playing in the opening night lineup, I'm sorry. I'm not buying that at all. Like, I'm just not. Like, this is a tank season. That's what this is. Because if it wasn't a tank season, you'd be putting the most competitive team, the fastest, most competitive team you can on the ice, and they are not doing that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the things that's going to be a storyline throughout the year, I think, Duane. And yeah, we wanted to get some of those guys off the roster, and they are still here, unfortunately, because in the NHL, contracts are guaranteed. So, Cody Eakin is going to be taking up a spot on this ice more often than not. Producer Steve, I'm hearing the sigh already. I know none of us are really looking forward to Cody Eakin, but by God, does he have a great mullet?
Oh my God. Yeah, we've been joking in the group chat that I'm going to buy a red mullet and start going to Sabres games dressed as Cody Eakin's douchey brother, Brody Eakin. But as much as I've dogged on Okposo in the past, just based on this tiny little sample size of preseason, it does look like he's cut down a little bit in weight. And he's not, at least, again, for this small sample size of preseason, unlike last year where he was constantly 2 strides behind every play, he was in the play. He wasn't always making the big plays, but he was there. He was contributing. And to that, at least to that regard, it looks like he has done some work in the offseason to address the things that are, very widely criticized probably within their organization. And obviously on the outside, like, dude had cement skates, but he's picking it up a little bit. And I'm whether or not he can do that for 82 games, I don't know, but I'm gonna try to be a little bit less harsh on him because I can see he's putting in some work to go against what's been literally weighing him down for many, many seasons now.
Yeah, and we saw him, get the A on his chest, and as well as Zemgus Girgensson, and it looks like they're going to be on the fourth line, if you will, to start the season, which is an interesting move for the Sabres franchise. You have the video of Okposo and Girgensons as the two to get people pumped up to go to games. Yeah, I don't know if you're getting me pumped up with those guys as fourth liners. So let's talk about, this potential, opener tomorrow a little bit, guys, because I don't know what to expect as far as fans and especially a turnout, because we saw the preseason games where there was literally 20 fans like in attendance. I'm probably setting the over under at like 50% capacity at 9,500. Duane, you think we can hit that?
I think you're going to get at least 8,000 people in there, but it's going to be tough because you have to remember the border is still closed. I heard some updates on that about them possibly able to cross back over.
It's gonna be, but
not right now. No, not by tomorrow night. And you do, like somebody made a good point too, to me earlier, is that this franchise is a little dependent on, the fans that do come in from north of the border. So it's going to hurt all season unless they're allowed to come over without any restrictions on a normalcy. So these
it's still not going to be normal either way. Like, you're going to have to be fully vaccinated and all that. It looks like they're trying to loosen the restrictions on when you need that last negative COVID test or whatever, because I think it's within like 48 hours or something like that right now. So they're trying to move that around to make it a little bit easier for people getting back and forth, but it's not going to get to a normal that we're used to anytime soon. So think about those games against the Canadians and the Leafs where Sabres fans traditionally sell off their tickets. They don't usually go to those games, and the draw, especially when the team is bad, are those Canadian fans, and to not have them in the building is going to hurt them immensely. So it's sort of surprising to me we haven't seen more sort of outreach at trying to get the local fans in there and that type of thing, and that's something the team might have to resort to at some point. But Cullen, for you, if someone gave you a ticket tomorrow and said you got to pay $20 for parking, $15 for a beer, it makes it very tough for fans to go.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like when the Bills were bad, you could get tickets on StubHub for like $7. And at that point, you're like, well, sure, like the Bills stadium will pack up regardless of how good or bad the team is. So you can pay $7 and go for the experience or whatever. But now, like going to the Sabres games, it's not going to be like a crazy atmosphere like the Bills games are. People don't tailgate for the Bills game or the Sabres games. So if someone were to give me a free ticket, but then I had to pay for parking and all those concessions that are crazy expensive, I don't know. I was looking to buy a ticket just to go see, like just for myself, let's go check out how we look. But I might have to wait till R2 gets in the lineup because I don't want to see that fourth line out there. So I'm thinking maybe they put the two captains or whatever, so-called captains on the fourth line because they're just going to be sitting on the bench the whole game. They can just talk to everybody, but I don't.
Send them out as fan ambassadors.
Yeah.
Listen, I've been very critical, obviously, of upper management ownership too. But the thing of it is, you could really solve this issue and avoid an opening night embarrassment pretty easily. You own both teams. You offer the first 10,000 fans that show up to the game a ticket to one of 4 Bills home games. So you can spread it out evenly. You own the team. Like a voucher, you put them up in the nosebleeds, whatever, the cheapest seats you have available. It's not like the team isn't making you a shitload of money.
And you're gonna make money off concessions and everything else.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, to avoid this embarrassment, and it's really mind numbing because you're trotting out Kyle Okposo and Zemgus Girgensson is wearing your letters. It's insane. You know, you're
It
holding
is what
back.
it is, bro.
Yeah, it is what it is. Mr. It is what it is. You're holding back a kid that we were all pretty high on at the end of last season. You know, you saw how well Arttu Ruotsalainen played. You know, people were bummed that Paterka and Murray were sent back to Rochester, but I understand it for Paterka especially. It's better for his development. But if you want to get people to come watch this team for the sake of your 80-year-old announcer, it's his last season. At least it's his last home opener. Get people through the door. This is a perfect example of why Terry and Kim Pagula don't give a shit about this team. Because if you did, you would do everything what's within your power to get people through those doors.
Hey, Duane, they were hiring for a ticket salesman the other day.
Yeah, it's insanity, man. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, you have that at your disposal. You own the other team, which now, as of Sunday night, or technically early Monday morning, is the #1 team in all of the National Football League. Offer those tickets for free. Show up. Here, free tickets. Go see the good team. And allow when the Sabres score a goal, God willing they score a goal tomorrow night, that you have an arena that's loud cheering for its team, not crickets. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things you could do, like you said, because they do own both teams. You're not losing money by giving out free tickets that aren't going to be sold, because they're not going to be sold anyways. You're only gaining money because of the money off of concessions and everything else, like we brought up. But I just want to take a moment real quick. 1-1 right now, Montreal-Toronto game. They're in the first 0-0 early between the Rangers and Capitals. But yeah, guys, I think it's going to be troublesome throughout the season for them to get people in the arena, because how much are you really looking forward to? Dahlin's been on the team for a few years. We know he can do some crazy stuff. Like, why wouldn't I just watch that from my couch if I care to see it? Besides that, I would like to see, Dylan Cousins. What can he do this season? Can we continue to see more progression out of Casey Middlestad's game? But those aren't things that are going to sell me to get into that arena or to go to these games, Steve.
I mean, I'm a weird exception to this rule. For the past 7 years, I've been watching Sabres games from the comfort of Philadelphia, being one of 12 people wearing a blue jersey in the wrong place to be wearing blue.
Capital scored.
All
nice.
right.
Was it Ovi?
I don't know.
Oh.
Chase to the great one.
But that said, this is my first season living in Buffalo, living within a mile and a half of the stadium. And I don't have a car, so I don't need to pay for parking. I don't drink. So it's literally just price of admission, and that's all I'm there for anyway. And, I'm trying to be cautious.
You could probably go to every game for less than $100 at that point.
It's starting to look like that.
Worry about fees.
Yeah, the tickets for tomorrow are pretty expensive, but then every other ticket that's on sale is like at least half that price.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's too much to be excited about, though, in terms of in-game experience or
you're not excited about 41-year-old Craig Anderson
product, but yeah, I don't know. Cullen, could you try to sell me on going to a game, because I can't talk myself into it.
I mean, Duane just yelled at all of us. He should put in for that job that they put out for.
I applied for that job, but I didn't have a trench coat to fit all the tickets in, so I didn't get hired.
Yeah, you're gonna have to scalp them to sell them.
But
yeah, they come to the ticket window, and I'm just gonna yell at them until they give my tickets.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you can't leave.
Get in there!
My negotiation.
Aside from Duane yelling, like, what else is there to be like any excitement over? Like, everyone knows what this year is. Like, there's no hiding it. There's not like, oh, we're 30 games in and we suck. Like, let's start to play even worse. Like, we all know.
I'm so shocked.
We all know this team is going to be bad 30 games in, 60 games in, and then 80 games in. So
it's going to hurt.
The hype is all for like the next 2-3 years. This year is kind of just, we kind of have to get through it. So what's there to be excited about? You got young guys developing, but they're not going to be good enough to match up against teams like Tampa and Pittsburgh and those high flying offenses that we see. Like you're going to go watch them develop as they're getting destroyed because the goalies can't stop anything. They're getting skated right by. So I don't know. If they lowered the price of a beer to like $3, maybe I'll go in for that. But that's not going to
dollar beer
happen.
nights. I'm telling you, you would pack that building.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you did a dollar beer night.
Dollar beer night.
$5 beer night.
Dollar beer night.
$5 beer night. I think you would.
$5 beer night is good for you and good for the capitalist in all of us. We don't want to.
$5 beer night. You better have Buffalo PD on standby at all.
That's what I was gonna say. It's just gonna turn into Buffalo Fight Night.
Do it during a Toronto game.
Also sign me up for. But something I want to commend us for. We've gone 20 minutes without talking about the white elephant in the room, so we're going to continue to not talk about it or mention it by name, because everyone's talked about it ad nauseum. There's no reason to continue to beat this point into the earth. We all know he's never going to play here again. So let's move on. Duane, it's tough for you feeling that, I know, but yeah, he's never going to wear that sweater ever again. One, because they don't wear that one, but he's also never going to wear that crest ever again. They've completely botched
made that bobblehead?
So we'll move on to the next topic, which is trying to figure out how to replace that production. And it's almost impossible with the guys you have on this roster to be able to produce what he did night in and night out, especially adding a shit ton of defensive stuff into his repertoire until he was getting hurt there, getting banged up a little bit. We saw him pull back the reins some, but Duane is all tangled up over there. Boys, how do you replace the production from your 1C like that? Do you guys have any sort of can Cousins take a big enough step here in year 2 where you don't miss a certain player?
I don't think that. I'm not saying that he's not going to take steps forward in his development, but I don't think it's fair of this franchise to ask a kid to do that. That's how you end up with Casey Middlestat's last couple of years. That's how you end up with, an 8th overall pick, because they actually were both 8th overall, I believe. Missing steps in his development because you put him in a situation where he wasn't ready for. Like a lot of the early predictions and lineups for this team had Cousins as your first line center, and I just don't agree with that. I'm not saying he's not a good enough leader or not willing to take on that challenge. Any player in his situation would love that challenge, but is it right for his like?
Yeah, I don't think you force him into it right away. No.
Yeah, no.
And that's the thing is, can he develop into it throughout the season? That's what you got to hope.
Yeah, that's what you got to hope. I think the issue is just that, to make a messy metaphor, we're trying to force a kid who just learned how to kickflip to go toe-to-toe in a half pipe with Tony Hawk in his prime.
Yeah.
Because that's what a lot of these people are in their respective positions. Some of the best athletes at their craft, playing some of the best hockey that anyone has ever seen. And, he's 20. Mm-hmm. I don't know about the rest of you, but I wasn't doing anything that impressive at the age of 20, even if I was getting paid $900,000 to do it.
I was crushing an impressive amount of bushes every week, but that's about it.
I mean, that's impressive, but not it's a spectrum. But that said, and I know Duane has talked about it a lot, that, everyone criticizes the idea of Buffalo making trades for people because, the season in everyone else's mind is already spent. But I think players like Dylan Cousins or Casey or any of these developing forward talents that, want to improve they need some kind of security blanket. They need some sort of veteran presence that can go out there, do the darn thing. They don't have to be a stud. They don't have to be a fucking wagon, but they have to be consistent at their craft, and they can learn from a guy like that. We don't need another Eric Stahl situation, but we need somebody who's been around the block, knows what the hell they're doing, and when you put them in just about any situation, they know how to handle it competently. And those are the kinds of people that need to be teaching these young people.
That's the type
Yeah.
of player you should have added to this roster. When you look at it down the middle right now, you have middle stat slotted in your 1C. Tage Thompson, you bumped over to play center, and he's going to be your second center. And then Dylan Cousins. So you could really use some leadership in the center of the ice. Guys who've been there and done that. Could Donnie Granato, coach him up to that level? Yeah, I mean, that's what you got to hope for. But to have another guy on the team who's been there, done that, and can sort of give these guys the little tricks of the trade and those little things to continue to add to your arsenal, in terms of whether it's winning a big defensive faceoff late in the game, or those little things that are going to get you from being a good player to an elite player. Think about Nathan McKinnon's development. Say 3-4 years back, everyone, great player, but he can't lead a team. Now he's been carrying the Avalanche, and he does it all, offensively and defensively for them. They can trust him late in the game to win big draws, and that's what you're going to have to figure out is Casey Middlestat that guy? I mean, I don't think he is right now. And it's like that with everyone on this roster. It's like they could be these guys, but there's just so many unknowns still looking at this team. And when you're trying to, prognosticate across a season, and you think about how many goals they're going to need to try to score and win, like, do you have those goal scorers here? I don't know, but that's what the games are for. So I'm gonna hit you guys with I think it is a tough question here, because I think the obvious name would be Jeff Skinner, but because of everything going on, I don't know if it is. Who do you think ends up leading the Buffalo Sabres in points at year end? I'll start it with Stevie, go to Cullen, Duane, finish it off for me.
That is really tough. You would think Jeff. And the season leading up to his insanely long and expensive contract would also make you think Jeff. But ever since that year, we have not seen it out of Jeff. So honestly, I don't have a good answer for that. If I had to put my money on it, I would either have to say, just by virtue of his capacity to finish on power plays and knowing that more often than not, Rasmus Dahlin will be the one quarterbacking those power plays, it could be Olofsson. But it could also be, we keep hearing about all this healthy competition within the crew. Maybe Middlestat's just like, hold my beer. I'm going to go do it 5-on-5. I'm just going to be that guy, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah,
so
he's flashed in preseason doing that.
Yeah, he's
a great shot.
Yeah, he's got some shots in him that I did not know he had. So I would love it to be Skinner. I would love Skinner to finally have that bounce back year we've been talking about for 3 years. Because, everything leading up to signing that big contract, the dude was a stud. He's a good player. He can finish. I don't know what the hell happened, but he can't finish right now. Yeah. I would love it for it to be Skinner, but if things have remained the way they've been, my money's on either Olofsson or Middlestat.
As your cat goes crazy in the background, Cullen, who do you think?
Olofsson is a good answer just because of, how many power plays we're going to get. That really doesn't depend on how good or bad the team is. Like, that's just how
you're going to get power play goals.
Yeah. So Olofsson is a good choice to do the power play, but he can't play great 5-on-5.
R2 can.
my two answers. I just had a fantasy hockey draft the other night, and my last pick, I took Middlestat because I said somebody has to score goals for the Sabres team. And then I talked to my buddies over the weekend while we were watching the Bills game, and I was like, yeah, I took him because somebody has to score. And he's like, no, nobody has to score for the Sabres. Like, it's not a guarantee they're just going to get goals. Not wrong. So I did pick Middlestat for that reason, but I'm hoping we can see a huge step for Dahlin in which he can quarterback that power play. He can quarterback the offense from the blue line, or they let him reign free and do what he was drafted to do. He hasn't been that defenseman that can take the puck up the ice. He hasn't done it well. He hasn't been really given that opportunity to. So you give him the reins to kind of go off on his own and be that sensational hockey player that we drafted him to be. Then I think he's a pretty good choice for this as well, because even though he's not going to get a ton of goals, he can assist. You get two of them in hockey. Two guys can get an assist every play, every goal. So I'm gonna say either Middlestad or Darlene, but I like the Olofsson choice because I mean we're gonna get power plays. That's inevitable with hockey. So and I mean, death, taxes, and Victor Olofsson scoring on the power play. Those are the only 3 guarantees in life. So
Duane.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little off the board here, but I feel pretty confident when I say it because I think Olofsson is. I mean, I think his 5-on-5 game under Granato is going to improve. But the big thing with Skinner is he needs a reliable center, and we don't know if we have that right now. I'm not saying that Cousins and Middlestat can't be that, but he's no Jack Eichel. He's not. Neither of them are. You know, I could see him getting back to like a 20-goal form this season, but I think the guy who's going to take a huge step forward this season is going to be Rasmus Dahlin. I think he's going to be playing every single. He might even double on the second power play from time to time. He's going to be playing 25 minutes a night. You saw shades of it last year with Granato at the end. You saw him start to get his groove back. You saw him start to get his swagger back. And I just feel that, you know, before Ralph Kruger, he was on pace for 50-point seasons as an 18, 19-year-old kid. If he can get back to that, which I think there's no reason to believe he shouldn't, especially with being asked to do a lot more this season. And I think we've all seen his maturity level. He does have that ability to take on that kind of role. I think you're looking at a possibly 60-plus point season this year from Rasmus Dahlin.
I've heard stuff that they've been looking to move him up and play him at forward a little bit.
Cullen, come on, don't steal my thunder. That's exactly what I was going to talk about.
Okay,
Rasmus Dahlin,
spoilers.
Look at his rookie season. He put up 44 points, put up 42, I think, in an abbreviated season the next year. He was on pace for around a 40-point season if he would have played 82 games last year as well. So I think we're going to see a big progression out of him this year. If he's able to put up 50 to 60 points, he should probably end up leading this team in points, unfortunately. But you look at his role, and it's continued to grow year after year. Duane talked about it on the power play. Cullen, you just brought it up about potentially using him in some forward roles, which makes some sense, especially late in games. If you're bringing on an extra skater, but if you don't want to roll that fourth line, you can shorten your D pairings down a little bit. You shorten your bench down, roll 3 lines, have Rasmus Dahlin hop on the wing on one of those, and he can skate well enough. We've seen his puck skills are good enough. He can dish it off. He can shoot. He can do a little bit of everything. So if you trust him in that role that we saw out of Phil Housley early on in his career at times, I think Rasmus Dahlin's potential here is close to a point per game defenseman, which is absolutely incredible. And what we all sort of thought we were getting out of Rasmus Dahlin at that draft.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. I'm seeing a video right now of we are on TNT during the first intermission. We are going to get Wayne Gretzky taking shots on a fully suited up Charles Barkley.
Oh yeah, they're having a shootout.
And he looks like he's going to be putting his goalie pads on the wrong legs. He's already holding the stick wrong. Gretzky's trying to coach him through it. This is going to be great. This is going to be such a fun season.
Yo, that's going to be amazing.
If TNT can do for the NHL or even remotely do for the NHL what it was able to do for the NBA for years, I mean, I think this is going to be a great year.
It's going to be extremely entertaining. You have Paul Bizinet next to fucking Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah, it's going to be unbelievable.
Just them alone, that's going to provide so much content. You have all of TNT's partnerships with Charles Barkley already hopping on.
Yep.
And then you have AEW. You have CM Punk, who just came back. He's a huge Blackhawks fan. Britt Baker, big Pittsburgh Penguins fan. You just have a shit ton of stuff you can involve.
I'm super excited.
It's not just hockey, a lot of crossover stuff to get more people excited. And to get more people excited, we got to talk about some other teams besides the Buffalo Sabres, because it should be a very exciting year of hockey. But before we bring on our next guest, gotta again remind you guys, get over to legendsinstars.net. Get your tickets for the Sports Collectors Expo that'll be happening October 29th and 30th over at Batavia Downs. Going to be a ton of current Bills players, including Greg Rousseau, Micah Hyde, a few other names, and Bills legends like Jim Kelly and Andre Reed and Thurman Thomas. But we have a legend in his own right joining us, none other than Mr. Dewey
Oh.
Crocs himself.
Oh, Dewey.
You know it wouldn't be,
What
some
up?
crossing swords action without bringing in Dewey. Yeah, we'll let him talk about the Islanders for a little bit, but we're going to start talking about the division here in general.
I gotta
because
go get
I
a
think
pillow and a blanket. Real quick.
Dwayne's already tired, mid-season form.
Yep.
Well,
yeah.
he's also already yelling mid-season form.
Yeah,
we were
he did lose his mind for a little bit at the beginning. I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
lie.
the screen
But he's
was
good.
shaking.
Oh, but listen. I had every right to. It was very justified. Very, very justified. Sorry you weren't there to see it, Cats. It was very justified.
Absolutely.
I'm sure
But
there'll be another chance for that.
we got our
No,
guy
watch.
Katz here to talk a little bit of Isles hockey, and then we're going to start talking about the Atlantic Division.
Herniated disc in his neck, guys.
Oh, that's probably not good for him.
No,
We still
definitely
haven't
not.
mentioned his name, Dewey, so don't mention it once.
I did once.
He did.
No, you didn't. No,
He
you
said Voldemort.
God damn it.
Same thing.
Dwayne, we can't have nice things because of you, but Dewey, Islanders made a couple moves. Lou was awake this summer. The team has been making some big runs these past few years, but just can't get over the hump that is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Is it their year?
Yeah, I think third time's the charm here. Going into this season, I think the team as a whole should look and feel very similar, minus Jordan Eberle getting taken by the Seattle Kraken, who had a pretty impressive game last night. That first shift last night for him was pretty great. Hit the post, mid-season form for Jordan Eberle. We did add a couple of players. We got Zach Parise and Zdeno Chara, who no one really thought was coming to the island. We lost Nick Leddy to Detroit and Jordan Eberle, who I just mentioned, hoping to make another deep run in I think still is the toughest division in hockey, the Metropolitan Division. You got Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, and Matt Barzal with the Island. Anything can happen. It's going to be a long season. We're back to a full stretch of 82 games, and I can't be any more excited.
And back to the regular divisions, which is throwing me off again already. We will not be playing the Islanders in divisional hockey this year, but we will be playing them enough. Yeah, last year was weird. Rangers, Isles, over and over, just absolutely brutal. Can't stand those fan bases. They're the worst, aren't they?
The worst.
They really are.
We are the loudest and the most passionate.
And
Got to
Dewey,
give it to us. We're very loud down here on the island.
Dewey, UBS Arena is going to be
Listen,
opening in a few weeks. That
before
place looks incredible, Dwayne. Hold on. This
Listen,
new arena looks sweet.
Listen. He wants to talk about loud and passionate. No, that's not because you're like yelling and stuff. You guys in Long Island, you're just naturally loud. Like it's not. There's not just like.
Look, it's close to the ocean. You got pork loud.
Hey, that's your normal talking voice. That's not you just being loud and passionate.
Hey, how's yours? We're loud. Same, but different. If you can hear us, we're loud enough. All right.
Yeah, but UBS Arena, that place, it looks like it's going to be absolutely incredible for the Isles. Over at Belmont, it's going to be a place where traveling fans are going to probably want to go to a lot. So it's going to be a hostile environment for people checking that one out. Should be an awesome place to check out a game. Yeah,
as a fan base, we're looking extremely forward to getting ourselves into UBS. The Islanders do go on a 13-game road trip to start the season, but they're not the first team to do that. I believe when Little Caesars Arena was still being built, Detroit started a long road trip and then started getting some games in there. The first game back for the Isles will be November 19th against the Calgary Flames, if I'm not mistaken. But I can't wait to get in there. I should be able to get in there sometime, hopefully after the new year, hopefully sooner. But there's a lot of things going on at UBS Arena that I can't wait to get my hands on.
Absolutely. But let's talk about the Eastern Conference a little bit. We'll go around the horn, give our prediction for who's going to win the East. Steve, how about you start it off?
Well, I don't think it's going to be Tampa again. Just after seeing them last night, I really think that third line that all got taken away, I think that provided just some unspoken and just some unknown ingredient that Tampa Bay needs for its success. Like they got the three empty net goals aside, they got outplayed by a Crosby and Malkin-less Pittsburgh Penguins team with Jari in the net, who was great in the regular season, but definitely biffed it in the postseason. Let's not discredit the man for getting them to the playoffs in the first place. He did well, but he blew it. That's okay. But that said, I don't think it's going to be Tampa. I don't think they're going to three-peat just by virtue that three-peating, even when you're still an elite team and nothing changes, it's hard. Yeah. It's near impossible. I don't know if it's happened in like hockey as a modern sport. Like it's probably been like 70s, maybe. I don't even know. Somebody's got to look at the
I'm going to
Even
go ahead and
Detroit-
say
even
the
Detroit
Islanders
did
were the
it.
last ones to win more than 3 cups in a row back in the 80s. That's 19 straight playoff wins, and no one's done it since.
Yeah, but that's cocaine. That doesn't count.
Yes, you're right.
That's-
The 80s,
that's-
right, the 80s, different
that's
era of
it.
hockey. You're right.
If it's not the Isles, and I will begrudgingly admit that, as you know, calculated as their game is, it's consistent. They know their strategy, and there are very few teams that can knock them off their game. So if it's not going to be the Islanders, I honestly think it might be the Panthers. I think they've got the right pieces to do it, especially now that they got Sam Reinhart. I miss Sam Reinhart. I'm not going to stop being sad about that. I fucking miss Sam. I'm sorry for swearing, but I just miss Sam.
You can swear. You're allowed. Cullen,
Come back, Sam.
What are you seeing across the East right now? Do you think it's still the Lightning's conference, or are we going to see some new blood?
I have to agree with Steve. They didn't look that good last night without playing against Crosby and Malkin. But they are 2-time defending champs. Like, they know, obviously, like the Islanders do, they know how to play to their strengths. And, I mean, one game in an 82-game season, the first game of the year. I mean, aside from the Sabres, what team is going to look just the same? The first night is halfway through. So I think it could be Tampa's year. I think Boston has a chance to do it as well. It all comes down to their goalie play. They have the D-man to do it. They have the forwards and Pasta and Marchand. I think they have the firepower to do so. Florida is a good choice as well, but I think my guess is the easy one is to say Tampa Bay. But if it's not going to be Tampa, I think it's going to be Boston or Florida.
Not bad options there, Cullen. Dewey, you're going to say the Islanders, so we'll move on. I'll give you a second. Why the Islanders?
And it's just hard for me to not really believe that this team isn't cup or bust this year. The window's now, everyone's all in, and Barry's system just works from the start to the end of a game. And like Cullen just mentioned, to see Tampa come out as a banner-raising night and lose without playing against Malkin and Crosby, kind of red flags there, but it's a long season. Everyone's got to get back into the groove. Only team that I see maybe giving the Isles a problem in the Met is the Carolina Hurricanes. They've given us problems in the past, and they're a very pesky group. It's their goaltending just makes them a little weary a little bit at times. But my ECF prediction is the Florida Panthers versus the New York Islanders this year.
Duane, a lot of ugly faces there. You're going to have to explain those to the people right now.
Listen, I know Tampa Bay misses the guys like Blake Coleman and Yanni Gordon. Trust me, those guys fill roles, man. They scored big-time goals, especially in the playoffs. But you're not going to sit here and tell me that that they're not going to finish first in the East. They still have Kucherov. They still have Hedman. They still have Sergachev. They still have Stamkos. They still have the best goaltender in the world. You cannot convince me anyone else is better than Andrei Vasilevsky. The guy is an absolute cheat code in net. So you're not going to – there's absolutely no way they are not finishing first in the East. I'm sorry, Cats. It's just not going to happen. They're a little hungover from raising a banner. You know what I mean? Like, that happens sometimes. I would have liked to have seen it come out there with a little more energy. But you're not going to sit here and tell me that a team that has literally possibly the best defenseman in the world and two of the best forwards in the world in both Kucherov and Stamkos are just going to – I'm sorry, I forgot about Braden Point. He's a superstar.
I was about to say,
Braden Point. 3
blaspheme,
legitimate superstars on their team. And that's just I don't even know if all three of them make up their first power play unit. I'm pretty sure they do. But if not, then it's just insanity to think that team isn't finishing first and isn't cup or bust for a third year in a row.
Yeah. Too much parity in the NHL. They're not making it for a third straight year. Sorry, Duane. I'll dismiss that point right now. You guys are all forgetting about a certain neighbor up north, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Get the fuck out of here. I know you're the host, but come on. Come on.
They're going to be in the playoffs.
Well, yeah.
Montreal's not going to be good this year with Carey Price not being on the team to start the season. I don't think Boston's going to be as good as they've been in years past. They're still trying to retool. They're doing a lot of different things. I don't know if I trust them fully. I think Toronto should probably win the Atlantic Division. They're going to put themselves in a very good position heading into the playoffs. And if they do that, you potentially get the Lightning knocked off because they run into some troubles with guys who consistently are injured. They're great players, but how often has Stamkos missed games? Kucherov missed games. Even Vasilevsky has gone out for long stretches in periods of time. I think the Lightning are going to run into issues with it throughout the course of this season. It is so hard to win year after year after year and to stay healthy. And when you have key guys who continue to go out of the lineup, I'm worried about them for that reason. And when I look across these other teams, I think who can do a little bit of both. I know we've made, a ton of jokes about, the Leafs choking this and that in the past, but with fans back in Toronto, I think they're going to do it. They're finally going to get back to a cup. And it's a spoiler alert for later. I'll save that after we make our Western predictions and talk a little bit about, who you think's going to win the cup, because I got something fun for that. But I really do think that the Leafs have a great chance this year in the Eastern Conference.
You're not wrong. I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs have if not the best, the second best pure goal scorer in the Eastern Conference behind Alec Ovechkin, and that's Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
I think when it's time for Ovi to hang up the skates, that torch is handed to Austin to start making more of a name for himself. And I hate to say it, but like John Tavares is just not a bad player. He's just a bad person. But just not a bad player. They do have the pieces, and can Jack Campbell bring them all the way to the playoffs? They got to play 82 games. They do play 82 games every year, but to get 82 games into the playoffs, just to lose 4 in the playoffs seems to be a trend for them. Could it be a different year for them? I might think so. At least getting past the first round.
I think so. I think they're going to make a little bit of a run this year. I got some stuff playing. Don't worry, we'll crush on the Maple Leafs fans in a minute. But let's talk about Western Conference predictions here. We got the Crackheads now out west with the Seattle Kraken joining the league this year. Obviously, a 1-goal loss in their opener. A very valiant effort against the Vegas Golden Knights in that one. Vegas, another team to really look out for this year. But let's talk about the West here. Steve, started off. Who do you think is going to be representing the West in the Cup?
Well, Vegas has been hungry for it since day one. And I think all these seasons where they get so close and just don't quite make it, I think they're really in that mindset that it's just like they're also in a cup or bust. Not necessarily bust, like they're going to completely eviscerate the whole team or anything, but like it's basically like I'm rolling on my sleeves. All right, let's stop fucking around. Yeah, the pregame show's nice and all, but let's play some hockey. So I would prefer it to be Colorado. Honest to God, I would. But I just don't have as much faith in the goaltending now as I did when Grubauer was back there. So for that reason and that reason alone, I got more faith in Leonard than I do. I don't even fucking remember. What's Kemper, right? It's Kemper and
Darcy Kemper, yep.
Yeah. I got more faith in the Panda. So that said, I think Vegas is probably going to be the most likely Western Conference choice to be on top. Colorado's definitely going to still be hungry. I still got that soft spot for Minnesota, but I still just don't think they have every ingredient they need to be a true contender. I'm so happy they kept Kirill around. I think that having Kirill in the National Hockey League is just something that's going to just pay dividends to every team in the league. If for no other reason, more Russians will be more inclined to actually come play here. That would be great. I mean, we just drafted 5 of them this past summer. So I would like to see those kids come to America at some point, if ever. But that said, the clear choice to me is Vegas. They're just still stacked on stacked.
Real quick, if anyone's questioning whether or not Ryan Reeves and Tom Wilson will get into it in this game, in the first period alone, Ryan Reeves has already played 5 minutes, according to Craig Wyshynski. So clearly, he's being sent out there to do a job. In terms of my prediction for the West, that's a tough one for me because every ounce of you wants to say Colorado because I did think they went out and got a better goaltender. I think Darcy Kemper is a very underrated goaltender in the National Hockey League. He's very good, much better than what they had last season. But I think a lot with Vegas, it hinges on, again, I think there's a deal to be made out there, and if they get him, I think that would put that. Now, this is all dealing in hypotheticals, but I always keep hearing that if there is a Jack Eichel trade to be made this season, it'd be to Vegas. So if that
Said
were
Voldemort again.
I did. I don't care. If it happens, I think they just jump to the top, not just in the West, but I put them at the front and winning the entire thing, because that's the one thing they've been missing is a true. I mean, I love Mark Stone and everything, but like a true elite number one center. And but with that, that's a hypothetical. As it stands right now, I think I'm going Colorado. I think that team, again, is just so good top to bottom. They're so deep. They have 4 centers that can score. And that's one of the hardest things to build on a winning team, to sustain a successful hockey team, is having at least 3 scoring lines with 3 scoring centers, and they have that, So, and now again, like I said before, with a better goaltender in that. So I'm going to say Colorado as rosters sit right now.
Yeah, and Colorado, they went out, got Jonas Johansson as their backup right now, while Pavel Francouz is out with injury. So that'll be a nice little addition right there. And then with that roster, dude, for Colorado, it's just insane. Like when they went out, they added Andre Burakovsky, such an underrated addition to that
He is a
roster.
good goal scorer, great goal scorer.
Exactly. He just was underutilized there, and Washington just wasn't giving the opportunities just because of the guys around him, but stepped into a huge role for Colorado and really, really succeeded. Another guy to look out for them, Alex Newhook, a youngster who made that roster. He's going to be a fun guy to watch throughout the season. I think Bowen Byram's going to take a big step forward as well. Just
Nazem Kadri,
being able to play with some of those other guys on that defensive pairings, where they got enough stay-at-home guys that can let everyone else kind of do their thing. I just love what the Avalanche bring. Night in, night out, just roll so many lines that can score and get things done offensively, defensively. And if you shore things up in the back end, where they've dealt with some injuries over the past few seasons and seem to be their bane the past few years, I think they're going to get over the hump this year. I think the Avalanche get there, and I think that's why the Maple Leafs fans are going to be upset, because they're going to get their asses stomped by the Colorado Avalanche, and they're going to get sent home sad. That's what we were waiting for. Haha, sorry, Leafs fans. Dewey, who do you think's winning the West?
If it was the early 2010s, I want to put my money on the Chicago Blackhawks, because I love Patrick Kane and I love Fleury out there for him. Fleury has made the postseason, 13, 14 straight seasons in a row?
Mm-hmm.
He might be able to get the Blackhawks back in the action there. And I really want to start putting more faith in these Western Canadian teams like Winnipeg and Calgary and Edmonton and McDavid and Draisaitl and Hellebuck out in Winnipeg. But I really do think it's Colorado's year to take that league, that conference, and be in a Stanley Cup final. They got Cal McCarr and Devon Toews headlining that blue line, and that should say enough for that. That's very scary. That's a very offensively powered blue line. And they got the goal scoring, Nathan McKinnon. You got the Moose, Mikko Rantanen, Burakovsky, like you just mentioned, Nazem Kadri, like Duane mentioned earlier. And I think they're just a powerhouse in the West.
Yeah, and hopefully Kirby Dach looks good for the Blackhawks coming back from that injury last year. A high draft pick there should offer a lot for them in the middle. He seemed to have a ton of chemistry with Patrick Kane before he did go down with injury. So I kind of like that, having a Blackhawks resurgence, Dewey.
I think I really cut in one thing. I think the Blackhawks are gonna miss, because he did log a lot of minutes, and there's some things you just can't replace. They're gonna miss Duncan Keith. 100%. They're gonna miss Duncan Keith. Like, that guy, as old as he is, the guy could still bang. The guy could still put up points here and there. Like, they're gonna miss a guy like him on that blue line. So I mean, I'm not gonna say that they're not gonna be a playoff team, but I mean, I'm just still, even the addition of Marc-Andre Fleury, I'm not extremely high on the Blackhawks. I just don't think they're deep enough.
All right, Cullen, finish us off here. Who's winning the West?
I don't want to beat a dead horse here. I think it's going to be Colorado. They just have so much firepower. And, last year, everyone was saying Colorado. It's going to be Colorado and Tampa. And, Colorado just disappointed, and just it didn't happen. And everyone's like, what the hell just happened here? So I think they're coming back this year, full 82 games, to just assert their dominance even more. and I think they have a really good shot at getting to that Stanley Cup final. There is one team, Dewey brought it up, that the Edmonton team with McDavid and Draisaitl, like they got to do something more than just get to the first round of the playoffs. Like those are the two of the best hockey players in the league, in the world right now, and only getting, I know 2 players on a hockey team can't get you far, but like you have those 2, they should be able to get you at least win 4 more games and get you to the second round at least. But yeah, it's Colorado.
Yeah, I hope it's the Avs here. I was on their bandwagon the past 2 seasons, been amping them up, and they fell a little bit short on my futures. But hopefully they'll get it done this year. It's going to be a very fun season, and we got one last prediction to make before we get off here. We just got to talk about the Buffalo Sabres. How many points are they going to get? Is it going to be in the single digits? Who knows? It might be. Are there going to be more points for the Sabres this year, or more fans, or less fans in attendance? Who the hell knows? Steve, let's start it with you. How many points do you think the Sabres end up with?
A lot of the estimates I've seen from people who understand the game much better than I. It's anywhere between. I don't think I've ever seen it go higher than like 72 points, and I think that's a pretty comfortable range. I would like it to be 69 just for the lulz, honestly, but I definitely see, upwards of 2/3 of these games being L's. So break that down. But yeah, I'm gonna go with that comfortable 69 points.
Nice.
I know, right?
Well, are they employing that shootout rule that they had in the preseason? Because then that's a guaranteed 82 points right there. But now I think.
Well, we'd have to call up Jack Quinn to score those power play goals, to the shootout goals rather.
Yeah,
he had some filthy shootout goals in the preseason.
Yeah, he's got good hands.
It just sucked for the rest of the game. He was a little invisible, but he's also young. I'm not going to dump on him, but at the same time, like I wanted to see more out of Jack Quinn in the preseason. I just did. Kind of made me sad. But that's not what we're talking about. 69 points in the total standings at the end of the year.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Respectable 69. Wholesome.
Oh, 69 is always respectable, always wholesome. Best number there is. Cullen, are they going to be at 69? Maybe more.
See, the fan in me wants to say more, but like the realist in me thinks it's going to be probably a little bit below that, probably in the 60 to 65 range. Getting, I don't know, 20 wins, like that seems so low when you play 82 of them. So that's already 40 points. So then you're hoping to maybe force overtime of it like 20 more times. It just, I don't see them winning 30 games to get to 60 already and then having give or take however many you want in overtime losses. So I'll go ahead and say like 62. I think that's, maybe being a little generous. It is lower than what Steve said, but how serious was Steve's answer at 69? I don't know. But we'll see what the rest of you three say.
Yeah, I was going to be right in the middle there at 65. It's going to be tough for them to get to that 30 win mark. I think they're going to be in between 25 to 30 wins, and then give or take 10 or so overtime losses and whatnot. It puts me around 65. I just don't see them getting into the 70s because you're going to have to get over 30 wins more than likely. Duane, where you at?
I'm going to put them at 68. One thing I think that Granato's team is going to be, it's going to be very tough to play against them. They're not going to win a lot of games, but they're going to force some games into overtime, 100%. I think that they're going to work their asses off. I think that's what Granato is going to get out of these players. I think I saw a lot of shades of that at the end of last season. But with that being said, the skill level just isn't there from top to bottom. They're not deep enough. They don't have a bona fide first-line center. There's a lot. And honestly, come deadline, this roster is going to look completely different. I put them right around 66, 68 points. I think they're going to be tough to play against for a good chunk of the season, right up until the end, where you're going to see a different team come in, a different look to this team after the trade deadline. You would hope, at least.
Yeah, we'll see what they do throughout the season. Hopefully, they do end up getting rid of the white elephant in the room, just so we're finally over that and we can see, what we have, what assets we get back, and where we're going in the future with this team. Hopefully, all the suffering is worth it for you, Sabres fans. You guys can check us out tomorrow night. We'll be back here live doing some stuff for the Sabres game and throughout the season through Crossing Swords. Duane's going to be running 2 goalies, 1 mic throughout the year, talking with Coley and a bunch of other guests, breaking down what's going on in the world of hockey and giving you some insight behind the mask, what's going on in these goalies' heads and what moves they need to be making. So make sure you guys subscribe over on YouTube, hit the like button, and hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live and when Dwayne's losing his mind on YouTube after a Sabres loss. So make sure you guys do that. Hit retweet or like or whatever on the Twitter sphere. And that's going to wrap it up for us here. Make sure you guys get over to legendsandstars.com to get your tickets for the Sports Collectors Expo on October 29th and 30th over at Batavia Downs. Shout out to Outlet Liquor. What's your outlet? The place to buy a case. We only got 3 words left. Let's go Sabres? Question mark?